How do you feel about the school of thought that Bermudians themselves should decide on the question of independence through referendum?
Well, I don't have a problem. I think that a major issue like independence should be decided by the people. I agree that the people should make that decision. There are various methods by which you can gain the people's opinion as to what should happen with independence. But I'm sure that when we do make the move towards independence, that it will be with the consent of the Bermudian people.
Okay. The Bermuda Day holiday, I've had to try to tap a few people on that, and most of the people, I haven't found anyone who, it's not that they don't want to acknowledge national heroes and such, but a lot of people seem to be so upset about changing the Bermuda Day. They think that the name itself encompasses the entire country. Why change it?
You know, what we said was that Bermuda Day would become National Heroes Day. There's been a suggestion that we reconsider that decision, and Cabinet will take a look at it. I can't say now whether we will review it to the extent of changing it, but we have heard the feedback, and we're going to discuss that in the future.
If it was determined that the entire country was just absolutely delighted with the present name, you're likely to may lean toward that?
Well, we'll see.
Good. So far, your spell in the political arena has not been without accomplishments. And it is fair to give credit where credit is due. And it seems your efforts and the way you apply yourself to, you have applied yourself in other areas as well, to tourism, has warmed many people throughout the island on both sides. What would you consider one of your major achievements since you've been in this arena, and why?
I would consider one of the major achievements to be the acceptance of the invitation to build new hotels in Bermuda. I think that is huge. I think that that is the keystone of the future for Bermuda's tourism. I also think getting airfares lowered was of great benefit to Bermudians and visitors. The ferry system ranks a high third in that list. But I do believe that we've been fortunate to have achieved those things.
Now, Bermuda has been fortunate in a way to have one of the finest it's one of the finest tourist resorts, and some of the, as you mentioned recently, some of the friendliest people in the world. And many of the older people who worked in the industry helped to more or less build a foundation that we're sort of riding on today. Now, do you think we can move away, reinstall that, not the servitude attitude, but the hospitality of professionalism that will serve a new era in tourism? There has been a sort of drop back in
I believe that if the core of the service in the hospitality industry is provided by Bermudians, that we will preserve the flavor and the spirit that you allude to. It was through the work of Bermudians, many of whom were working part-time in the hotel industry, that helped to lift the industry to the position that it enjoyed.
That's true. Many of them are leaving other jobs.
Exactly, and that is why it's important for Bermudians who ask the question, who is going to work in these new hotels? When we have a Ritz-Carlton or a St. Regis, you know, or Jumeirah, who's going to work in them? Well, I think that there will be a core of Bermudians. In 1980, when we had almost 10,000 beds in Bermuda, the vast majority of the hotel workers were Bermudians. But many of them were not full-time. I was part-time. I don't know what you did, but most Bermudians have worked in the industry at some point. So the industry was thriving on part-time Bermudians. People would work at the post office during the day and at the hotel at night. We used to call it a hotel hustle.
It was a great period.
It was a time, and that's where we're headed again, I believe. I believe that we can convince Bermudians to come back into the industry on a part-time basis, and that will give it the special flavor that gives Bermuda the edge.
Yeah, because the spirit that you're talking about is something that made the Talbot brothers famous. They were performing in hotels that they couldn't go in as guests, perhaps.
That's right.
But they knew what their job was. They knew, and once they hit that stage, they sold Bermuda and themselves.
That's right.
And
we're headed back there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
we're going to
good.
have what we call the platinum period of tourism.
Yeah. Now, what would the Bermuda you would like to see in the next 10 years? What would be your vision of that?
Oh, I see a beautiful, vibrant Bermuda, one that has benefited from the big conversation so that the issue of race has been discussed fully, and that there is at least a better understanding. I think that in 10 years we'll begin to see the benefits of having reconstructed the education system. I think that we will see at that time 3, 4, 5 new hotel properties providing the necessary competition in that arena. I think in sports we will see Bermudian teams going to heights that we never dreamed of, Bermudian athletes excelling at all levels. That's the Bermuda that I see.
We didn't touch on race. I did that deliberately. I'm hoping that eventually it won't be a subject.
Eventually. But I'll tell you what, it is dangerous. I learned in medicine that if you sew up a wound that's infected and leave the infection in place, you will come back weeks later and find a large infection. And that means that the wound has to be opened and drained.
So the bottom line is that we need to face up to
all
of the problems.
All of our
country
problems.
has,
Confront all of
that.
our problems.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from any problem. We have the intellect and the energy, and I believe the commitment to bring to bear on all of our problems. I say to people that when Hurricane Fabian hit, and of course it hit this house as well, I saw a spirit that emerged in Bermuda, which is the spirit that we need to capture. And what that taught me, Al, was that Bermuda we operate at about 55% of our capacity, which is not the way that a nation goes from goodness to greatness. The way we get there is to put our shoulder to the wheel, acknowledge our challenges, and solve our problems.
Mr. Premier, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.